I often tell you, don't I, chums, about certain things that you find out. And what I find fascinating about certain stories, in particular, when you look at things that suddenly come out into the media, you always find out that, well, it's always after the event. And more importantly, the people around you, well, they're not here to defend themselves. In like this particular story, as ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me, chums. Nice to have your company. By the way, thank you for your lovely comments regarding, of course, the terrible situation for the former newsreader, Selina Scott, who was very, terrible mugging really in the very heart of London. And as a lot of you were agreeing, it's just one of those things that you don't expect. You're just out buying a book, enjoying yourself. You would never assume in that moment that that could happen. We always think, don't we, it's going to be down sort of some dislit alleyway or something like that where somebody follows you. Right in the middle of London with everybody going about their business. Frightening stuff, but it's always good to highlight it so that we're all more aware. And I will send, of course, your good wishes over to Miss Scott, who, still recovering. It's a bit frightening, isn't it, when you get to that age and that happens to you, and she's a resilient woman, let me tell you. This woman's a resilient woman too. We're talking, of course, about the former royal known as Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, HRH, that she likes to title herself, but just privately. She only sends those letters out privately. I mean, why? Your friends must be laughing at you. Now, here's where this gets really interesting for me, because the story goes, right? And again, we've got this is a season for the royal books coming out. The big autobiographies come out around about September, October. The royal season is at this point, and the reason why they bring the royal books out is that the royal family are up in Balmoral having a break, and then suddenly, people remember things. A little bit like this particular man, the former royal butler. There's many of them. And of course, the thing is they're, if you think about it, always ready to pop up on TV and tell their side of events. And some of the stories are really interesting. But of course, then they like to get ahead of themselves. And this particular story regarding the late, and in my opinion, brilliant, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, well, apparently when exiting the royal wedding of Meghan and Harry, used an expletive with it's over, right? Now, let me tell you the background to that particular story. You see, before all of that took place, it had been asked in a very gentle way to keep the service literally to a nice finite time. For two reasons, really. As we know, the Duke had been recovering from a hip operation, right? So he wasn't exactly great on his feet. He also had a couple of issues bladder-wise, and I don't mean that rudely, but he was a gentleman of a certain age. So to be sitting for a long time, weeks after a hip operation, and then the other issues, not easy. Now do remember that this wedding went on some time, and nobody interjected at all. Remember the choir? Oh yes. The cellist, who was apparently triggered by Rule Britannia. Remember him? And then, of course, we had the pastor. Wonderful, all in aspects of it, but just simply went on quite some time, particularly when you're of a vintage age. Likewise, our late and brilliant monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Now, the story goes that when, as I say, he was exiting that, according to the partner of this former butler, this situation happened. Well, the hot mics of that particular point did not pick up anything at all. The lip readers never picked it up. And of course, one might suggest that this is very good hearsay in order to make sure that you have something controversial, as I pointed out the other day in the book. Now, I've been told from an excellent source that the reason why this would never have truly happened is the fact that Prince Philip was fonder too of a blue word. I think we all saw that when he was having his picture taken, or those outlandish comments that he would say. But he would never swear in front of Queen Elizabeth, He held her in such high regard, true lady, and no matter how angry he got, she wouldn't allow it, basically, right? And this all stemmed also from the late Queen Mother. Wouldn't have any profanities said in her earpiece or anything like that. She just wasn't having it. So what I would say to you is, well, this is a nice story, and people might say, oh, wonderful, etc., all that sort of stuff. Behind the scenes, one might suggest also that, well, it is a nice story, but really, I'm sure he would have said, thank goodness it's gone, or let's get out of here, because obviously he might have been in need of a dire situation. But in fact, to say that literally to the Queen, apparently 100% and this is from an excellent source, would be nigh on impossible. But again, the Duke of Edinburgh didn't have a book to sell. You see how this works now. Now, I know many of you will say, oh Neil, no, you're just defending the royal family. I'm telling you, as ever, from excellent sources, what I know, and from people that attended on that particular day. Neil Sean in the very heart of Yorkshire.